Good evening. Zechariah Jackson, BASA News. I'm here in Newark. I'm with Sheila Montague. Am I saying your name right?
Montague.
Montague. It's the G.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
going to put the V there. Okay. That's a different name.
Yeah.
Have you ever met anyone else with that name? With that last name?
Actually, Shakespeare.
Okay.
The Montagues and the Capulets. I think that's the most familiar.
Wow.
You know.
I'm talking about modern times.
Oh yeah, sure. There's a lot of Montagues.
Yeah.
Yeah. I catch them on social media all the time. They're in my inbox, like, we cousins,
Right.
Yeah, but it's not a really common name.
No, it's not.
So,
Especially for a black person, it's not. I've never heard of it.
So is it French?
It may be. It may be French, maybe Old English. I don't know. But it's a very unique name and everything, you know. And I remember years ago when we talked, you said that basically you were a product of the community, that you were raised by the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't recall saying that, but it sounds just like something I said. For sure.
I can't say it was verbatim that I quoted, but
good summary.
Yeah. So Sheila, what are we doing? You decide to put your 10 cents or 100 cents in to run for mayor of Newark, New Jersey?
10 cents. I did decide to put my hat in the race, for sure. That's correct.
And what inspired you to do that?
Well, a lot of things. The necessity for change, right, is always the first impetus. Just raising children here in this city, it's been really challenging, and I'm sure that there are a lot of other parents who feel that way. As a homeowner, we've experienced challenges with the forever tax raising situation that we're always dealing with. There's so many issues. The water prices for water has skyrocketed
since the pandemic, not pandemic, but since the water crisis. Has the water gone up? Well,
not just since the water crisis, but since 2014, since the current administration has been in, our water has escalated in cost. And while I understand that there are some reasons for that, the slap in the face is the fact that you don't even feel comfortable drinking it because we don't know, so that's problematic, or cooking with it. So on top of the water escalating in cost, we also are experiencing a situation whereas, we have to buy additional water to cook. We have to buy additional water.
And that can be costly.
Yeah, filters for showers, things of that nature.
The city was giving out filters at one time, is that correct?
I believe they were. I wasn't eligible to get one.
What's the eligibility?
Listen, I went down there with my neighbor. She was able to get one and I wasn't. So I don't know. I guess they had a criteria for certain. I think the filters should have been for everybody.
Sure.
But
That's what I thought they were.
Yeah, that was my experience.
Because I interviewed a young lady that was actually in the business of selling filters and stuff.
Oh yeah, I know who you're
talking about, right?
Oh, God. She's amazing. Yeah. She's always been the water champion for our city.
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah. She told me I had never heard of it until the crisis.
Yeah.
And, she's
legendary.
She's wrapped up in it.
In fact, she led the group for making sure that Cory Booker, when he was mayor here,
that's right. That's what she said. That's exactly what she
said. Feet to the ground, grassroots.
Yeah. Well, she told me, and I told her, I said, I'm unable to comment because I didn't know.
Yeah.
But she said she was deeply rooted. She called the names and the time.
She was very honest.
Wow. Yeah.
She was very honest.
So, you deciding to run. How would you do the city different than the current administration?
Well, there are a lot of things that I would like to address.
Okay.
First and foremost, as a homeowner, I think that we need more activities family-centered in our city. We don't have a lot of that, and because, I'm pretty family-orientated, I have a lot of friends that are also.
Sure.
And right now, we go out of town for family activities, and I think that that's something that we need to have in Newark.
Can we be a little bit more specific on what some of those events that you go out of town for?
Bowling.
Okay.
anything but family oriented, but we don't have anything like that here.
Well, what about
like our nightlife is not really good. What about what?
The movie house we have down on.
The movie house?
Well, the movies. I'm from the old school. I said movie house. The one down on Bergen Street is that? I don't think
it's opened anymore.
Oh,
When I come by, it looks to be abandoned from the point of having movies shown there.
Okay.
But I did meet a gentleman who actually said that he has church there.
Okay, so rents
that's
out.
So the movie theater may have
okay. So
transitioned
sometimes
to
if I see the cars, I'm thinking it's movies, and it could be church or a concert or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And again, don't quote me on that. That's what I see.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't look like it's functional as a movie theater anymore. Okay. And it hasn't been up that long, so that's kind of tragic.
Yeah.
So
what is it that can be done different in Newark that a person like yourself that's very familiar with the community, because I talk to people about you, and everyone I talk to, I tell you, they saying cheerio, you know, and some of them don't live here no more.
Wow.
Some of them live out of state, you know, and I brought your name on and said, yeah, I know her, you know, that you are deeply rooted in community activities.
Absolutely. Well, to God be the glory. You know, I mean, there are a lot of things that I think that we could do here, and the number one thing is we need to collaborate.
Okay. As
a city, there needs to be a unilateral cohesion, if you will, of residents. To put it simply, democracy needs to be restored.
So if we were on a world stage and we were talking about a country,
right, and
we said that democracy needed to be restored.
Right.
Of course, we heard that with Afghanistan, you know, in terms of with the drama that took place after the troops pulled out, and you heard that democracy needed to be restored. So when you say democracy needed to be restored, can you be a little bit more specific of what's going on that, you know, where a person from the outside looking in would wonder, shouldn't there be democracy? Well, what's going on? So
that's a good question. I definitely agree that seemingly we would be living under a democratic municipal government, but currently that is not what's going on. And you see it because retribution for people who don't agree with the central government here. You see a lot of people, I mean, this is common knowledge, a lot of people go live sharing on social media the fact that they've lost their jobs or they've lost their position. And, you know, and these things are often connected with support of unions with situations, support with some type of social justice reform or what have you. So we're moving toward a very ironically a very fascist state of being here locally, where one person or one very small group of people are dictating the lives and outcomes of the entire residents that live here. And I've personally never experienced a government like that until now. And that's not something that I want to delve deeper into. So I want to bring about that change. I want to bring back the times when we had city council meetings. Currently, COVID is being utilized as a rationale for us not physically meeting. But we've seen this same local government have huge, I don't want to say super spreaders, but huge rap events, right, that no one had on masks. We've seen parties transpire. We've seen a lot of social events take place, but for whatever reason, when it comes to city council meetings or when it comes to school board meetings, those are still being only done virtually. So again, I just think it's time for us to restore democracy.
So in so many words, virtual could be like really trying to avoid actual issue. It's a difference in going to church and looking at it on Zoom and actually being physically there.
Well, no, but it's not just that, right? And that's one thing, but it extends a little bit further than that. We have, especially I live here in the West Ward, so everybody doesn't have access to internet. So we're talking about a total deficiency in terms of how information is even gotten. And oftentimes it's not. So that could be very detrimental to the decision-making processes, and definitely excluding people from those democratic decisions that they don't even know are occurring.
That you know? Yeah. Well, when I talked to you on the phone the other day, I'm quite some years beyond you in age.
I'm sure not much, but you know.
I went back to the Antonesio administration.
Okay.
I talked about Gibson, and I was telling a friend, I said, she's honest, because most people would have said they knew of Gibson administration, where you actually said, I was real young during the Gibson administration.
Yeah, I was very young,
third, fourth grade or whatever.
Yeah.
But you remember Sharp James.
Absolutely.
And you remember Cory Booker.
Absolutely.
And the current.
Right.
How would you balance? Is there a balance between those three that I just named in terms of leadership? Do you see the same kind of leader that you would see like in Sharp James and Cory Booker that you see in the current mayor?
Well, I think all leaders are different, right? Everybody has their niche. I know that there were good qualities and characteristics from all three.
Sure.
Actually. I mean, I could leave it there, because I mean, you could get specific about maybe some things I liked or didn't like. But the one thing that I'm mostly concerned about is that when Sharp was here, if the people said, we don't want NJ Pat, then it was a meeting downtown.
Sure.
There were lots of people who had the opportunity to come out and voice those opinions when Cory Booker was here. Like I said, if he wanted to sell the water, we were able to not only find out, but to be active in preventing that from happening, because the city as a whole didn't want that to occur.
Okay.
So now you don't see that same, like, no one better not say anything.
Sure.
There's a level of fear. And like I said, the rule is different. The rule is such that we've seen in other countries other than ours.
Sure.
But, when we live in a city that, 80% of the city are renters, right?
Sure.
So 80% of the city have not been educated beyond high school.
Sure.
So they don't know our history. They don't really know and understand all the different types of rule in other countries. So people, when they live in fear, they kind of just tend to acquiesce and just go along to get along. But that's not always the best thing to do.
For a city to exist and to build,
right.
That's not a good thing. So in other words, if a person don't two-step, and if everybody walking in two steps and everything, there can be a problem. That maybe they would lose their job or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, absolutely. Just consequences, period. The consequences vary from lost jobs to,
and you
harassment.
This is common because you've heard on social media.
Yeah. This goes on regularly. Just job harassment. Like today, the last couple of weeks, my garbage wasn't picked up, and it was only my garbage. And again, this could be a stretch that it was coincidental.
And you're
definitely attributing that
and
to
your can was on the curb.
Yeah.
Pushed to the curb.
Yeah, I have video footage all around my house, so yeah, no doubt about that. It was out yesterday afternoon. I keep my garbage out, know, and like I said, and I'm not saying that happened on purpose, because I don't know that.
Right.
But what I am saying is that for 2 pickups in a row, my garbage was the only one sitting there. And, we all have the right to run for office if we should decide. And, because the current administration is the incumbent, there's just no reason for those types of, actions toward the residents if they decide they want to run.
So you're ready to next year to get into the debates and things of next year?
Yeah, I definitely am. I'm looking forward to it, in fact. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot that I have a lot of questions. I'm inviting others that have questions, and I'm looking forward.
Well, just for the public to know that this here is the second candidate that's running. The other day I was with Anthony Diaz, and he said he's running for.
I did hear about that. I did hear about that.
And we talked for quite some time. So let's talk about some of the programs that you would once you become mayor, that you would put together for the city, you know?
Well, one thing that I would be very interested in putting together is forming a relationship between the police and students in school.
Okay, well, that's different.
Right now, they have a curriculum for the students in school, but it's only being implemented in the East Ward, and that's why when I talk about unilateral, I'm talking about across the city. The city needs to be one. Right now, our current incumbents, they run on team of the specific mayor, and I'm running on Team Newark. Like, we're one city, you know, city, right. And we want that opportunity to debate different programs and different things that we may.
So what's for the North Ward should be for the South Ward, South Ward, East Ward.
Especially we're talking about the police.
Sure.
The police are not just stationed
now,
in one ward.
Explain that to me, because you know, I often hear and know of the frustration that the police and the constituents have with each other, and I often say to myself, you know, I think it's a foul, because in a democracy society, we were bred to believe that the police were the heroes. You go to school and say, what you want to be? I want to be police. I don't say I want to be a Secret Service, because that's not,
right.
You know, I say I want to be a police fireman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
So when you talk about the different friendship that they would have in the East Ward versus the South Ward, West Ward, or even Central Ward, can you explain a little bit of that relationship that they have? Because I really would like to know myself.
Well, I'm not using the word friendship, because it just takes on a more personal connotation. Okay. But I'm just speaking in terms of the curriculum that's being implemented. We have a lot of crime that's taking place in the city. And I think that one way to really infuse restorative justice is to make sure that the police have good relationships throughout the city. Sure. Now, I do understand that they are working toward those things, and I do understand that they do have you know, they work on good relations, right, with the community, but they have to work on good relations with the children. They should be inside talking to the children, getting to know who they are. Sure. They should have different activities. Maybe, I don't care if it's one baseball game that takes place in the summer all year.
Or picnic. Or
a picnic or something, that allows the children and the youth in the community to get to know who they are. Sure. And also to get to understand what public safety is really all about. Sure. You know, we live in a society where kids are not really being, in school, for example, they have to, you know, listen to the teacher, they have to listen to their parents, but sometimes it's too many women in this scenario, you know, and so there has to be a balance, right? Sure. There has to be a balance, so the first time if they get in the street and do something wrong, if that's the first time they see a guy, that's not a good experience. Sure, I understand. You know, so I think it was
they're used to the mother tongue versus a male,
a mom tongue, a teacher's tongue, right. and so that leads me to the next thing. There needs to be like action steps to bring more men, and especially men of color, in our schools. And the reason why I say men of color, because it doesn't correspond with the demographics here. Sure. You know, if you look at it, we have more, you know, African American students here, but when you look at the head of the police, he's not African American. When you look at the head of the school district, he's not African American. Sure. And so, and not saying that they have to be, but there needs to be a balance, right? And so that we see, you know, just people working together and creating those connections.
You know, Sheila, I'm going to interject and say this. I understand exactly where you're coming from. Because, you know, when I first started dating in 1981, seriously coming out of high school, I dated a young lady, and I was very fond of her. Okay. And, you know, as we grew to get to know each other, you know, and we, you know, of course, serious conversation took place. And she actually told me that there was never a black male in her life that she really looked up to. Wow. Yeah. And I felt, you know, I said, you know, I felt so sorry for her. I'll tell you why. I said, you know, and the reason why I do, I said, I feel so sorry. She graduated from Cornell University, Ivy League and all that.
Yeah.
I said, I feel sorry for you. I said, because the thing that brings me to you, part of the attraction is because I knew of good women.
Right.
Whether my mother, teacher, or a sister, aunt.
Right.
And for you to say that right there was just a great loss. So
I
feel that loss that you're talking about, that yes.
It's reality.
Yes, it's without a doubt, it's a reality, yes.
And another thing is we need really good role models to exhibit what conflict resolution looks like, right? Between a man and a woman.
Sure.
It doesn't mean if you're in a household that you always agree, but you teach the kids how to disagree.
Yes.
Right? And so that the kids learn, and they grow and they learn that skill.
Yes.
And what we have now, on top of the crime, we have too many kids not being able to form good, healthy relationships and get along because they were missing that male figure or that sometimes the female figure. You know,
but most time the male.
Yeah.
I mean, we might as well, keep it real. People, as the young people say, be 100.
But I mean, everybody's plight is their own.
Yeah.
You know, and we have a very, colorful community. You know, and I love that about the city of Newark. And like I said, we just need so much, and our kids deserve so much, and I think it's up to us. If we feel that we can do that and give it to them, then we owe them to do so.
Well, yeah, because, all right, I understand that right there from a social point of view, because from an economic point of view, as you said, we need so much from a social standard, but from an economic point of view, Newark is doing quite well. A great deal of businesses is here in Newark and things of that nature. I remember the time, and maybe 10 years ago, I could drive to Newark in 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where now, with the influx of traffic and different...
Well, a lot of that also is something else I want to do. We have not been having consistent traffic studies.
Sure.
So that's why right now we're experiencing so much congestion as we're traveling. So as these businesses are coming and as these new constructs are going up faster than you can bat an eye, the proper protocols are not taking place. So that's something else that can be done.
And what would you do to fix that?
Well, it's not about fixing it. It's just about, there's a department that does that. You just have to make sure that it's getting done.
So there's a department already.
Yeah, things are in place, but they're just not functional. They're not. The work is not getting done.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so we want the work to get done. And we have to be steadfast on that. And we have to be focused because, like again, Newark needs so much. And like you just said, there's monies that are coming into the city. But you can't tell when, again, you look at the people.
Sure.
There's a visible social economic deficiency, if you will. When you look, like, you could just drive through the city and it's like, oh my God.
Right.
And it shouldn't be like that.
Sure.
It shouldn't be like that. There are a lot of writings, right, that talks about, people always bring up racism, but very seldom are we having a conversation about classism.
That's right. Yeah, that's a big thing.
And that's something.
And we as black folks don't talk that way.
But it's real, and we need to have those discussions because only when we do have those discussions can we start to put solutions in place and start the healing process that's going to get us where we need to be.
Okay, when you brought up classism, all right, in the black community. How would you define it? How would you explain it to the people here about classism meaning among us? And how do we measure those classes?
How do we what?
Measure one class from the next.
What do you mean, how do we measure?
Like who's in what class? Is there 1 class, 2 class, 3 class, 4 class?
Well, so,
I understand what you're talking about.
So it's tricky. It's tricky, right? Because right now we're in the midst of a paradigm shift where the middle class is just being totally wrought out.
Sure.
And so we see a lot of the government assistance coming to the lower class, if you will, for rental assistance, but we don't see things coming to the homeowners.
Right, that's right.
We see an excess of food stamps and things like that coming to people, and they need those things. I'm not saying that they don't, but what I'm saying is we didn't see that help to keep those mom and pop stores open in our community. Yes, so, like I said again. the middle class is not being supported. And in other countries that exists also, but just keeping it focused on Newark, we need leadership that's going to make sure that there's an adequate balance for the haves and the have-nots. You know, you can't totally just ignore the homeowners. Like right now, if you look when you're coming here, all of the streets around have been repaved. This is the first time we've had a huge repavement done like this in the entire time that this current administration has been in office. And but you'll see that on our block there has been no pavement done.
And why do you think?
Again, you know, they say that they want homeowners to be involved, but when you get involved, like I said, there's a retribution that happens sometimes from you speaking. And this is nothing new. This is not something I'm pinning, you know, necessarily on this administration as much as this is something that's being done here, just as it's being done in other places. This is not something new. But what I'm saying is what can be new is that we can stop following things that exist that are going wrong and start setting, you know, our own trends for how we want to see things go. And I'm a creator. You know, I create blueprints. I don't follow them. And I think that that's the type of change we need in our city. You know, we don't need status quo. We don't need quid pro quo, right? We need to create. We need to create. And that is what we do. We create if we're allowed. But like I said, if we don't have democracy and we're not given the opportunity to do that, then it won't get done.
With all the, from what I'm hearing, the dirty underskirt, my mother used to always tell my sister, make sure your underskirt. I don't know, do women wear underskirts anymore? I don't know.
Oh, I get the point. I get the metaphor.
I get the metaphor. Get sick and you go to the hospital, you get dirty underskirt. With all this going on in Newark and things, with this underhand fighting and things of that nature, and gentrification is taking place, we're seeing people in our city, you know, you can drive up Martin Luther King at 2 o'clock in the morning, you see someone walking a dog that you wouldn't have seen 10 years ago. So, you know, and it's like downtown is becoming a whole new world, you know. Broad Street is so different than, let's say, Urban Turner Boulevard or Bourbon Street. How do we do this thing where the people that journeyed here in Newark, that was here when Newark was not fashionable, but they held on, that was here as, quote Larry Ham, as they call it, the rebellion. Some call it the riot, but Larry always
They better not call it the riot in front of me.
Larry always said the rebellion. In which he's right, because the people were fighting for their own existence and things of that nature. So Larry was right. Cheerio to Chairman Ham. And but how do we kind of bridge it where they get some of it? They feel that they're getting some of the fruits of the benefits of the growth of the city today, because as I talk to people, they feel that they're being pushed out. Well, they have a right to feel that way because they definitely are, right? And I think that it's just not that challenging to complete this task. Like, there's some positives to people coming into our city and making our city home, right? Newark is a great place, and it hasn't even touched the potential that that exists. But however, the people who are living here, the native Newarkers, they must get their respect. They must get their due. And it's not happening when you talk about things like the land banking. And it's just so many things that are going on right now. When you say land banking, what do you mean? Well, they have land banking, whereas their Governor Murphy established that. It's something that, you know, we wanted. It's here. I'm not sure how functional it is. But it's supposed to give the residents an opportunity to purchase some of the housing first. And that's not what's taking place here at all. And I was there when, you know, they cut the ribbon for it. And again, it's just not what's taking place. Well, what I'm finding is that what a young man told me, he said that he wanted to move in one of the new structures. And he made $46,000. Where they said you had to make $45,000. So he couldn't get it. So it's those types of things, right? So how do you cut? You know, it's those types of things. Like I said, you have to make the decisions
from the door. And that's another reason why I'm running for mayor. When you make the decisions, you have to make it in mind of those people. Sure. We have kids that are coming home from college, and we want them to come back to Newark. Sure. They can't afford to come back here. Yeah. And this affordable housing, they have maybe 40% or 35% affordable housing. What is that relegated to?
But if a kid go to college and he come home, he will not qualify for that affordable housing. But if he's making over $45,000, because this was one of the people was telling me that he only made like 46, and he could not get it. Right. But then at the same time, he couldn't afford an apartment over the New Jersey. Right.
But this is what I'm saying. This is what's happening. We're not considering the class that is underneath the higher class, right? And then maybe you have your working class or your middle class, and then you got your next class. But people are not keeping in mind here that we have subclasses. Yes. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, we have subclasses.
And whether or not they appear to be almost invisible, but we have to know that they exist if we live here. And our decision making and our allocation for funds, as well as our legislation, should dictate that. Sure. It should be in consideration to the true 300,000+ people that we have that are living in the city of Newark. And right now, it seems like just everybody is getting something. Sure. Except for that native Newarker. We're giving away 20-year tax abatements. We're giving away property and land, but not to the people who are here who desire to get it first. And just because one or two people get picked to say, hey, look at this person right here, they did it, it's just not the norm.
Okay. I'm going to ask you something that's probably going to step off for a little bit, but it's going to be in a political realm too. What is the difference between, if you can answer, middle class and working class? Right. What's the difference?
Well, I use them synonymously. Yeah. So, because your working class is, somewhat, your middle class, but you do have a working class of people who, like you said, maybe they're making 45, maybe they just started their work careers. Right. You understand what I'm saying? But then you have your Newarkers who maybe they've been at their job for a longer period of time, and they're making a little bit more money, so maybe they could pay a little bit more bills, but if that's going to be met with the constant carjackings that we're seeing now. Sure. Just recently, we've seen Walgreens get robbed, Wendy's on Chancellor Avenue get robbed, the Exxon gas stations, several of them getting robbed. We're seeing these robberies because people don't have. And when I say they don't have, they don't have the money, they don't have the tools, the education is not right. I mentioned the other day, about the scores that we have. Sure. That we're representing 9% in math and 11% in reading. That's a disgrace. Sure. We have some of the smartest young people in this country living right here in this city.
Okay, now I'm going to say this here to you, Sheila. Now, do we hold the mayor accountable for those that are not reading on the level that they should? Do we actually hold the mayor accountable for crime? Because if you were mayor and crime, I'm not going to blame Sheila.
Right. So those are really good questions. I love the chance to address them. Thank you for that question. For the first one that's pertaining to education, the mayor is not supposed to run education, so ideally he shouldn't be responsible. Sure. But because he has handpicked each and every school board member, when you don't even have to be affiliated with that, why do it? Why run members for the school board? There's enough to worry about with the city. Why can't, because you got to remember, this is a nonpartisan election. So how do you have parents in your community running up against a party? Sure. The last election we had for school board, you had a father, you had a dad running, you had a mom, and it was somebody else that was running at the time. I can't recall. But the point is, why did those parents, because that's what it should be on the school board, have to run against a party?
I understand. Because, you know, I believe if you look at my archives, I've interviewed some of them.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, but you know, not to like. That's why I didn't mention the names, because the people aren't as important as the fact that the mayor ran a ticket every single year since he's been in, and all of those people have gotten in ever since he's been in. So consequently, everybody who sits on the school board who is still not being proactive or effective in implementing the Amistad Act, that law of 2002, those people who are still not forcing some type of conflict resolution for our kids, especially after COVID and all of that trauma. And the kids are fighting. That's being talked about a lot too. There's a lot of fighting going on because the kids got to re-socialize. They were in the home for over a year. There was a lot there. Why don't we have somebody who can address that in each and every school? I mean, a professional. So that's the school part. And there was another part of that question you asked me about the police.
Yes.
Right now, the relationship is not good between him and the police. There's always a bumping of heads. When have you seen a municipal government so adamant to bump heads with the police? So we have really good native police officers who really care about our community. They're getting pushed out.
And you've talked to them?
Oh, I've talked to them.
Wow.
Many of them, men and women. And they're getting pushed out. So it's a constant, huge turnover in police. And then we get these little babies coming in. Right. It's like, oh. Listen, we got real crime going on here. And in some places, I know that there's been talk about defunding the police. And I get it. But here,
we can't do that.
We can't do that. Okay, that's just nonsense. And not only should not we be looking to do that, but we should also be trying to see how can we make our police stronger? How can we make our police stronger and more cohesive with our community so that we can work together? Because like I said, we don't want the kids to just go to jail for anything and you just randomly stopping and frisking and doing. But this is the fact of the matter.
Sure.
We have assassins running the street.
Yes.
That's a fact.
That's a fact, yes.
You can't support that. You can't support that. So again, we need the police, and we don't need the police and the mayor at odds. So we need a mayor, right? That's going to make sure, not one that wants to defund the police, not one that just wants to browbeat and be a broad street bully to the police, but we want the respect. We want to hear the issues. I want to hear the issues. What's going on? How can we work together to make things better? Because there's a job that has to get done.
Do you think with the history of Black American people, some refer to us as African American, some refer to us as Afro-American.
Right.
When you look back in the history of us and the police, do you think that, will we ever get along? Will we ever see eye to eye?
Well, there are challenges there, right? So, you know, and I'll take it back to the 60s, you know, when people were living in the affordable housing, you know, in projects, and they came up from down south, you know, very clean, very good people, you know, and there were no need for police. But as those drugs came in, as the guns came in, who brought them there? You understand what I'm saying? So that was the impetus for the police to get in. So now they got it, and it's the same thing we're experiencing today. You know, we talk about all of our kids, that they're getting locked up, and we're dealing with issues of recidivism, but at the end of the day, we're never having those discussions about who's bringing those guns here.
Sure.
You know, we're never having, and it's discussions that was embarked upon when the current administration was running for office. And now that you have a platform, now that you have the power to make an impact, for example, this administration missed an opportunity, let me just say that, to put in an African-American sheriff.
Oh, for real? And
it didn't happen. Now, I don't know him personally, but him nor did the other, you know, I'm going to keep it in Newark right now. The Newark mayor did not support him. And even though there was literature that went out with both of their pictures on it, not only didn't he support him, he had an article to come out the state that the guy basically lied on him. And, you know, that was real ugly and just messy. And we don't need to showcase that in our community. All the dissension, everything doesn't have to be put up front. And it's like the Jerry Springer age. I think that's what,
when that's old Jerry Springer.
Yeah, like all of the dirty laundry doesn't have to be aired. And that's what we're seeing with this administration. All of the dirty laundry is aired. When he has an issue, he talks about it on his platforms, and everything doesn't need to be talked about. Sure. Some things, if it affects everybody, yeah, but everything you're going through that you feel personally, your truth doesn't have to be everybody else's truth. So you got to be mindful of how you share that, because it impacts
the whole
yeah.
thing. Let me ask you this right here, Sheila. Last Friday,
right.
I believe it was at the men's meeting.
Okay.
At Central High School. Mm-hmm. What are you thinking about something like that? Is that a good thing that the mayor have a men's meeting? Well,
I'm going to be honest. I think that along with many other of the initiatives are great.
Sure.
Not even just good. I think they're great. Mm-hmm. But if we assess the process, the progress of it, what has really come out of that?
Okay.
And I'm not asking you per se,
right.
But you understand what I'm saying? It's like, okay, we had these men meetings, kumbaya. Okay, 8 years later, where are we? Are we seeing more, African American homeowners
sure.
per ratio of what you're having the meetings for? Because they're said to, to help people buy homes and, and I mean, 3 of your friends getting a home, that ain't what I'm talking about. Because that's not the men's meeting. The men's meeting is filled with men.
Mm-hmm.
So other than a feel-good opportunity to share who you are and to share what's going on with you, because I went to some, even though they were the men's meeting. Yeah, I went to
I've seen two or three.
Yeah. But I mean, I like to, I like to be involved in my community.
Sure.
I like to see if it's an opportunity for me to help, and that's why I went. But I shut up, mama business, and let you guys have it. But at the end of the day, like I said, I just don't know what assessment tool is really, letting us know the impact of those men's meeting. Are they reaching the goals that are established? And I know that at one point they had a couple of meetings for women. Definitely there was nothing. I was given a list personally. Mm-hmm. The list was full of lots. Mm-hmm. And then when we went down, it was like, okay, there was no real substance.
Was it saying that you could buy a lot and put a house on it, or?
It wasn't saying anything. That's what I'm saying. It was all very ambiguous, and you can't maintain, certain people,
right,
continuing to come to that type of forum if there's nothing going on. So and I'm not saying that there's nothing going on, but I'm just putting the question out there. You've been,
Sure.
Is there something tangible that you can?
Well, yes, Friday was my first time.
Oh, okay.
The first men's meeting that I went to, and
you feel you got some tools for the trade for real estate, and
I don't feel that I did all the way. I heard about businesses and setting up businesses and things of that nature, but I didn't get actually concrete stuff that I could.
And so that's all that I'm saying. So like I said, the initiative is good, but me getting an opportunity to be mayor, I'm going to make sure we're not even having meetings like that unless there's a already established agenda that no one's going to walk out not understanding, knowing, or being able to just make it tangible what they got from attending that meeting, because people's time is valuable.
I felt good because we were, I seen a lot of people I hadn't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And things like that, and it was good to see, all brothers together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things,
yeah.
And stuff, but it is, how it is. Yeah. Let me ask you this right here, change the subject a little bit. The behavior in public housing. How would you deal with that? Because, the new projects, because these are the new projects that's built basically like homes, they are not designed to take the stress of the old ones.
The old ones wasn't designed for that. They just kept them up better. Like I said, people from down south, they took better care of the old ones. The drugs wasn't there at first, so
the old ones were quite strong. You couldn't punch a hole. It wasn't sheetrock. You couldn't punch a hole through the wall. We had brick. But I getting off the structure part, but just the behaviors that's going on. You look in the paper and the shootings and things, and how would you address that? Because I was in a march in Elizabeth, New Jersey, about maybe about 8-9 months ago with Salam Ishmael. You know Salam?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And I said to the young lady, because there were some shootings and 2 people got killed, I believe. I said, you know, looking at these houses, I said, these houses look like Society Hill. Mm-hmm. I said, and I asked her, you know, verbatim, a question just straight up. I said, what is it about this behavior that when we're put in a position of help, mm-hmm. that we reject it so much that it becomes like a fight? What is that all about? And I asked, I said, what is that all about? But then, you know, she came up and said, well, everybody here isn't getting low rent and things of that nature. But a lot of people were. A lot of people are getting low rent and the behaviors. So what would you do to change, to not so much change their behavior, but to be able to have security or something, you know, or to, you know.
When you say security,
well, like maybe armed security in there.
Oh, literally. Okay.
Yeah. Because, you know, it's.
Yeah, I wanted when you wasn't specific with behavior. Do you mean the tenant's behavior? The housing authority's behavior?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if some of the public housing that, you know, you can't just drive, even if you have relatives, you can't just drive up there.
Right.
You drive up there, people, you know, there's drugs being sold, there's a whole lot of behavior going on. A lot of people that hang around in those areas, in those public places, don't even live there.
Right.
You know, so what I'm asking, when you become mayor, how would you deal with that? Because that's something that, for whatever reason, I don't think that anyone has ever got a handle on.
Well, you have to want to, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. And a lot of politicians get in office and they're gearing up for the next office. At the last State of the City, our current mayor was saying how he's running for governor. I'm like, you know, so we have to have people who want to do the work. That's the first thing. We have to realize that Newark Housing Authority never really wanted to be in the business of housing. You know, so they're trying to get away from it. They don't.
So let me ask you this here, Sheila. If they got away from housing, what would they do?
They don't want to be bothered with it anymore. It's the same thing as public schools. That's why everything is trying to turn and charter. They don't want to spend the money on us anymore. You got to realize if they're paying rent, mm-hmm. right, for people, you think it's a little bit of money, but it goes by your income many times, not always. But they're paying all of that PSC&G. You know, the heat and hot water. They're footing the bill for that. They don't want to continue doing that. It's a lot of problems.
But if the housing authority, and I've heard that before, mm-hmm. so I'm going to say a few words. If the housing authority isn't in the business, right, to they don't want to be in the and you're not the first person who told me that. Mm-hmm. I've heard that a lot.
That's true.
So then what business do they, what were they going to sell? Gin, or are they going to sell to keep the housing authority tool? So do they want to destroy the actual housing authority?
Yes.
So where would they go for jobs?
They don't want to pay the state. The country does not want to pay for anything for us. They don't want to pay for the housing, affordable housing. They don't. You got to remember that the projects was initially created for white veteran men coming back from service. I don't know if you're aware. It was never for us anyway. You know, it happened that way, you know, eventually. And I'm not going to go into the whole history of it. But what we have now, mm-hmm. and like you said, is problematic with the behaviors. Sure. But those behaviors are a symptom for something bigger. You know, we see people come in, you know, and get Asian laws, right?
Asian laws?
Yeah, we have laws for Asian hate.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so, but we don't have laws to protect us, you know, from the police. They didn't pass the George Floyd bill, and, you know, so we see, you know, immigrants, bless their heart, because they're trying to escape horrendous circumstances too. So we see them coming in getting monies, but we have yet to get our reparations. Sure. They will tell you can't throw money at an issue, but I'm sorry, money can change some things. Money can change some things. If you're taking kids on trips, if you're taking them out, and our previous mayor, Sharp James, knew that. Mm-hmm. He did a lot to give kids different experiences and things like that. And we need that type of caring. Everybody's not the same, and that's not to say that the current mayor doesn't care. I'm not saying that, but people care differently. Mm-hmm. People prioritize what they care about. So what's happening right now, it's not working for me. Mm-hmm. It's not working for the city at large. Mm-hmm. Because like you said, when you talk to people, it doesn't matter what he does at this point. People want to change. Yeah. And it's not personal. It's not that people don't like him, because people actually do. Mm-hmm. It's not about that. But it's about, people want this crime to stop. People want to be able to come out on the street again. When Sharp was in office, the city was beautiful during election time. You could hear a pin fall. Sure. But now, I mean, they had the 24 hours apiece and people were still getting shot. Wow. You know, and so there's a lack of respect, and why? So we go back to the housing. Why are there people allowed to be in front of housing? Case in point, if you go up Elizabeth Avenue right now, those big buildings right on the Elizabeth Avenue in front of Towers. No, not Carmel Towers. Up from there, you can see them from Carmel Towers. It's those buildings right across from the park.
Weequay Towers.
Yeah, maybe it's Weequay Towers.
Weequay Towers, the one that's right. If you go up the hill,
right across, yeah,
right, exactly.
As soon as you pass, if you're going up past
Mika Avenue,
past Mika Avenue,
up the hill, you go up the hill. Yes, yeah, oh yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so the new developers or the new owners who bought that building. Sure. They said, we don't want these behaviors in front of our building. Right. So they had the money to purchase police. Behold what I just said. If you go up there now, you're going to see big police. Yes, they purchased police. I want you to really feel what I'm saying. Okay. To be there to make sure that behavior is not transpiring in their building. So what happens? The group just moves down and impedes, right, on the liberties of the seniors and other people who are at the very next building. Okay, so you actually saying that those police is there. It isn't an assignment, but it's actually private pay? Right. How do you do that with the public police? This is what I'm saying. We need new leadership so things like that don't happen. I would like the police to sit out in front of my community and guard me like that. And it shouldn't be dictated on money. But I mean, the reality is, it is. If you have the money, you could afford the security. Sure. Like, our mayor has the biggest detail of any mayor that has ever been here. Sure. And it's so ironic because he's a native son of Newark. Sure. I can't imagine anybody having that much security. And you are a native son. Now, could it be because he's younger and that perhaps like when Barack Obama... Is he younger than Cory Booker? I believe he is. They're about the same age. I don't know. Yeah. But, I don't think age plays a role. Like with Barack Obama when he became president, you know... President. Not mayor. But he had more Secret Service. And he got more death threats. Apples and oranges. You know. I hear you. Apples and oranges. You understand, you know what I mean? I hear you. Yeah, apples and oranges. You know, you live here in the city where people should have access to you. Sure. And they don't. And like I said, it's another form of just, to me, it's fascism. And I'm sure that, you know, some people might not agree with that, but this is how I see it. Mm-hmm. You want us under a totalitarian government where we're just totally just listening to you and what you say. And that's not how people are. Sure. You know, even when we were forced to come over here on boats, there were different tribes. Mm-hmm. There was those of us who spoke different languages. Mm-hmm. Sure. There has never been a period in history that we all was in 100% agreement of something. I don't think that would ever happen. I don't think it happened with anyone. Yeah, so that is why democracy is so important. Yeah. And maybe that's why people often say that about that. In the black community, we have a lot of different churches because we had a lot of different tribes back in the day. Yeah, and we have a lot of different, you know. I mean, but the church never hurt anyone, you know. You know, a church, whether we got 10 churches on the street or whatever, church don't shoot no one. I think that there's a lot more that our faith-based community could be doing as well. Again, but it has to be an open opportunity for them too. But they would have to live here too. Yeah, and that's an issue. I mean, if I preach a sermon and everything, and I have that electric start and I start my car, and 10 minutes from now I'm way out somewhere. I have to agree. Yeah, that's a good point. That's different. You know what I mean? It's one thing to ride through town than to live actually in the town. Yeah. And I will say that you've been living in the town for a long time. Yeah. And people like you. Let me ask you this right here. What would you say to the parents? Because I about learning and the importance of education, because
I was talking to a friend of mine that had a son, and I asked the son how to spell his name. The boy's like 4 years old, and he sang his name. He sang it, sang it,
yeah.
and sang it. And I said, well, he did that when he was 4, but then he's still doing the same thing at 5. And I'm like, well, that's how you do it. I said, well, that's good, when you're 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
But you need to learn how to spell. So what would you say to parents about learning? Because I know we talk about teachers, we talk about the persuasion maybe of the mayor in education. We talk about all these other things, but let's bring it home to the parents. What would you tell a parent today about the importance that their kid really need to sit down and read and write? What would you say?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm very passionate about education. Mm-hmm. I think that we have to first consider that our parents today are the products of a failed education system of yesterday. James Baldwin has talked a lot about this, so it predates me or anything that I could offer to this conversation. But I think that a person in leadership, again, has a platform and a great opportunity to teach to the parents. Because I was a teacher for my entire life, a lot of the parents now are students that I've had in my class before. So I want to lead through example. I want to be a model for them. And it doesn't mean I'm perfect, but it means that I'm very, I'm very conscious of the fact that people watch me and what I do. And that is a trait that a mayor has to have. See, I can't do one thing in public, but then bring kids together and behind closed doors, and I'm preaching something different. Because people are going to follow no matter what the leadership is. Take Trump. Trump got in office. It was clear to see what he stood for, even though he said he didn't, because all of the people who stood for the same thing came out of the woodwork. And they had the most to say. It was Christmas time for them. And, so we see a lot of things going on right now in the city of Newark, and people might not want to face it. It's a very ugly thing to face, but we see a lot of crime. We see a lot of gang violence. We see this happening. And like I said, people can say that they're not involved in this, that, or a third, but, we just look as residents here. And, when you look what you see, it just tells a story.
Okay.
So to just conclude what I would say to parents, I don't know if I was clear about that. You have to lead by example. And you have to use your platform to educate. That's what the platform is about. Not for you. And again, these are things I've seen attempted. Like at one point I saw the current administration reading, I think to his baby. Yes. So
I see that on Facebook.
So I thought that was cool. That was good. But so we have to extend that, right? Our parents have to learn too, because what I've noticed about a lot of us, we're very proud people, right? As we should be, and we won't go to the counseling. But so you bring the counseling to them. You use your platform to teach. And who likes it, they can adopt it. Who don't, maybe they might think on it when they go to bed at night. But make it presentable. Put it there. And then be the type of person that people can receive it from. Like, don't do something else behind closed doors. Like, don't come on and tell me to do X, Y, Z, and I'm sitting here and, I see something else on the street. It's everybody is in communication. Everybody.
Okay, I want to end with this here. Almost like a 2-question thing or whatever. What could the mayor, or what would the mayor, if someone asked the mayor to say something nice about Sheila Montague, what would he say?
I have no idea what you're saying.
No. Well, I'm facing a question of your perception of you being a nice person. So what would you say in that terms?
Well, I mean, I would imagine that he would say that I really care about the city. I imagine that he would say I'm very consistent. I imagine that he would say that I'm a passionate person. And again, this is just my imagination. I don't know.
But this is who you are. So
I would imagine. I would hope that he would say that my bid for office is more about the changes that I would like to employ.
Sure.
Because he talks a lot about people hating on him, and I don't hate on him. I just, it's just about what I feel like I could bring to the community.
Sure.
And I have executed ways to try to bring it to the city without being involved on this level. But again, I speak for a lot of people.
Sure.
A lot of people want and share the same changes that I would like and desire. And so, and that's what this is about. This is not about hating on him. It's not about disrespecting him. But if the facts disrespect you, then whoever you are, consider yourself disrespected.
Okay, and I'm going to ask you this here. What, and you can answer this real quick. What would you say nice about Mayor Restorative?
Well, I've said some things. I think that he has definitely put forth some good initiatives, but they fall flat because they're not, and I don't know, maybe it's because he's not putting the proper people in with the know-how to, case in point, I'll be specific, some of the, and I still have it, some of the ways of dealing with crime. One, I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was pertaining to the music that was supposed to be played. And I remember asking him one day, I think we was on Chancellor Alliance, and I asked him, I said, why did you take the music component out? And I don't remember what he said, but to me, I don't think it was a big deal to him. He probably just didn't want to hear it, But to me, they say that music calms the savage beast.
Sure, that's right.
You understand what I'm saying? And right now, it's not our fault, but people are functioning on a low frequency.
Sure.
Right? And it's uncivilized. Some of the behaviors that's going on. And music heals our soul.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah.
Music heals our soul. I love music.
Yes.
Music changes things. I remember walking really quick. I remember walking through West Side High School one day, and this guy was there out in the hall just playing his trumpet. And he was a teacher, and I said, wow, I knew why he was doing that. But for whatever reason, like I said, I don't think the mayor got that. And that's why I say it's so important that you don't just, everyone's going to do what I say do.
Sure.
Everybody has the potential to contribute something that is important. So that's what I really am concerned about. Not him as much as I am concerned about making sure that this city reaches a place where, again, we can reinstate democracy when all voices are heard and valued, because no one person has all the answers. I don't have all the answers, but I just want to open the door, and that's one of the slogans that I use, open the door. I just want to open back up the door where people could come in and share and without feeling afraid or I got to say everything. First of all, do you want constituents or do you want cheerleaders? You know, there's a difference. And if you show me somebody, right, who you're trying to make everybody happy with you, what are you risking? What are you losing? Because you lose something in that process. I just need to make everybody happy. I just want it all the time. You're losing something that's very viable to your being and your development. So, like I said, those are thoughts for consideration. And that's what I would say. He has some really good initiatives, but I think that they just need to be pushed forward so that they could really do what they're intended to do, which is to help our people who so desperately need help right now. There's a loss of hope. We got to fight back. We got to change the lens.
So you want to restore hope in the city of Newark?
Yeah, well, I think that if things are done fairly, and people are not prioritized on just giving money to small groups of people, because I mean, people see this. I'm not saying things that people don't see. There's a camaraderie, if you will, amongst a small group of people who knew him, and you know, you gotta help the people that you don't know too. Sure. You know what I mean? Like
you all are one.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't get a chance to know my biological parents, but my grandparents raised me. But I've had teachers and community people who've done so much for me. Now suppose, right, the mayor, like I said, I came up with Sharp James. He would see me going to college and he would always give me a little money here or there, a little $20. And it wasn't only but a few times, but it meant the world to me. He probably don't even remember it, but he's like, Gal, you know, you're still in school. And, you know, because he would see me traveling to and fro. And what I'm saying is suppose that he only did that for people he knew.
Right. Yeah, I understand. understand.
You know we need each other.
Yeah, it's true.
The people who you don't know, get to know.
That's
and
right.
Don't make it mandatory that people have to love everything you do and say.
Yes.
Because, I've been married for 21 years, and let me be the first to tell you, I do not agree with everything that man does and says. And, and that's just nature, So just some things to consider as we, move our city forward.
Okay. Well, let's hope that we move it forward.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Right. Again, this is Zechariah Jackson, BASA News. Good night. Cheerio.